The sun rises like a golden eye over the African savanna, its light spilling across a canvas of grass, dust, and ancient bones. It is a kingdom vast and echoing, where the silence of morning is broken not by bird song, but by the whisper of wind brushing over parched earth and the soft shuffle of hooves. This is the heartland of the lion, a realm forged in time, ruled by blood and haunted now by the tremors of an unfolding crisis. Across this wild expanse, prides once roamed freely, each a fortress of legacy and power. Lions, majestic, powerful, regal, had long stood atop the food chain, unrivaled rulers of their domain. But the balance is shifting. The boundaries of their world are shrinking. Water holes are drying. Prey herds are thinning. And from the shadows of the wilderness, new threats emerge. Not only from within the animal kingdom, but from the encroaching hand of man. The first signs are subtle. A pride of 7 females, led by a seasoned matriarch named Moya, moves with quiet urgency across the plains of eastern Botswana. The land they tread is brittle, stripped of lush grass by a drought that has stretched for months. Their cubs, small and barely old enough to keep pace, stumble between the legs of their mothers. Their coats are dusty, their eyes wide and unsure. Moya pauses at a clearing, ears flicking. Her golden face bears the scars of many seasons, her maneless frame lean and sinewed. She knows this land. She has ruled it. But even she can sense it. The ground has changed. The rains are late. The wildebeest migration passed too far north this year, and lions are not the only predators desperate to survive. A jackal slips by in the distance, vultures wheel above, circling an invisible kill, and nearby a lone elephant carcass, picked clean save for the heavy splintered tusks, marks the passage of an unseen struggle. This is not the land of abundance it once was. Far to the west, beyond the escarpment, 2 young males scan the horizon from atop a granite kopje. Their manes are not yet full, their confidence not yet forged by war, but their hunger is undeniable. Born into the periphery of an old pride, they are outcasts now, nomads wandering the void between territories, searching for a foothold in a world that no longer welcomes them. They are lean, built for endurance, and driven by instincts both ancient and merciless. Their names mean nothing here. In the wild, survival is not etched in stone but in flesh and tooth, and every step forward is a gamble. Below them, a riverbed curls like a dry scar across the earth. Once it teemed with hippos and crocs, fish and frogs. Now it is dust. The air is still suffocating, filled with the scent of cracked mud and wilted reeds. What little water remains is tainted and shallow, and shared by many. Zebra, impala, baboons, buffalo, all drawn to this last shimmering promise of life. But where prey gathers, predators follow. A coalition of 4 older males has staked a claim here. Veterans of years gone by, their dark manes and battered frames speaking of battles fought and survived. They control the river crossing, the fertile grazing land nearby, and the hearts of 2 breeding prides. Yet even their dominance teeters. One of them, the eldest, walks with a limp. Another shows signs of infection, a wound festering along the shoulder. And their roars, once bold and echoing, now break with fatigue in the night air. From the edges of this kingdom, younger lions circle like ghosts, watching, waiting. Every few days, the nomadic brothers test the borders, leaving scent marks roaring into the dark, attempting to summon an answer. The response is swift and brutal. The dominant males patrol relentlessly, tracking the invaders' signs, chasing shadows across the savannah. For now, the balance holds, but tension simmers just beneath the surface. The crisis does not end with lions alone. The prey animals, too, are changing. Buffalo herds grow restless, their numbers dwindling with each failed calving season. Wildebeest calves, once born by the hundreds, now stagger into a world offering no guarantees. And giraffes, tall, serene, once abundant, are found fallen, victims of thirst or poaching or quiet starvation. Hyenas, ever the opportunists, thrive in this chaos. Their clans grow larger, their territories expand. In places once dominated by lions, hyenas now rule with snarling efficiency. They raid dens. They chase lionesses from kills. And they wait, cunning and tireless, for the moment the kings fall. Above them all, the sky darkens with smoke. Far beyond the visible horizon, fires burn, some natural sparked by lightning and fed by dry winds, others, human, scorching wide swaths of savanna to clear land, to make way for cattle, to claim space that once belonged only to the wild. Lions find fences where there used to be freedom, villages where there once were woodlands, and they are forced, more and more, to exist on the edge of what remains. Conflict with humans is inevitable. A pride crosses into farmland, driven by hunger. They kill a cow. Retaliation comes swift. Poison in the carcass. A mother and 3 cubs do not wake the next morning. Elsewhere, a snare meant for bushmeat traps a lioness by the neck. She drags it for days before collapsing beneath a thorn bush, where scavengers pick her clean before her pride can even find her. These are not isolated tragedies. They are symptoms, and they multiply year by year. Back in Moya's pride, night has fallen. The lionesses lie in a loose circle beneath a marula tree, the cubs curled beside them, safe for now. Stars blink above, distant and cold. Somewhere, a hyena whoops, a lion roars in reply, far and not one of theirs. The world is growing darker, their world, once shaped by rhythms of sun and rain, of hunting and rest, of cubs born beneath golden grass and fathers roaring in moonlight. Now it is shaped by fear, by unpredictability, by a future cloaked in shadow. The lions are still here, still fierce, still proud. But they are no longer rulers in a land that bends to their will. They are survivors in a world unraveling, and this is only the beginning. The first light of dawn stirs the savanna in soft hues of fire and rose. Mist clings to the lowlands, a breath of coolness before the inferno of day returns. For a moment everything holds still, the trees, the grass, the lionesses that move, like ghosts through the morning fog. But beneath this quiet beauty a fierce story unfolds, one etched into bloodlines, carried in the marrow of bones, and tested in every breath taken by the heirs of the wild. In a valley flanked by distant, Kapya's Moya's pride rests in motionless calm. Yet beneath their golden coats beats a shared burden, a legacy forged by generations of survival, but now teetering under the weight of uncertainty. 3 cubs huddle close to their mothers. Their bellies are empty. Their eyes, half closed in fatigue, still search the horizon instinctively, scanning for movement. The pride hasn't fed in 2 days. The wildebeest have vanished northward. The impala, once plentiful, now travel in tighter, swifter herds, haunted by drought and the rise of opportunistic hunters. The lionesses rise in unison and begin their silent procession. Each step, precise. Each breath, calculated. They are mothers, warriors, queens of instinct. But in this dry season, even their best efforts are sometimes met with failure. A hunt unfolds, measured, patient, then suddenly explosive. Dust flares as claws rake earth. But the zebra herd is too fast, the lead stallion too alert. The lionesses return hours later, ribs heaving beneath their coats, their eyes shadowed with weariness. The cubs nuzzle them for milk, but none comes. In the harsh economics of nature, legacy is not preserved by sentiment, it is preserved by success. By food, by protection, by the presence of powerful males who can guard and sire, who can defend what is theirs, and ensure that cubs born in this cradle of dust survive long enough to roar. But the pride's males are gone, driven out a year ago by a rival coalition. The new rulers, two dark-maned brothers from the west, have not returned in days. Their absence is a crack in the pride's armor, and that crack grows wider with each passing hour. Without protection, the cubs are vulnerable. Rogue males patrol the outskirts of the valley, following scent trails like whispers, hoping to find young ones they can destroy. For lions, infanticide is not madness, it is strategy. When new males take over a pride, they kill the cubs of the previous bloodline to bring the lionesses back into estrus, to sire their own legacy in place of the fallen. It is a cruel truth, but it is nature's ledger. Moya knows this. She keeps her cubs hidden beneath the roots of an old fig tree, shaded and distant from the open plain. She does not rest. She listens. One night, a strange roar cuts through the silence. It is not one she knows. It is deep, guttural, challenging. The lionesses gather tightly. The air thickens with tension. And for the next several hours, no one sleeps. By morning, the threat is gone. But so are the two young males meant to be their guardians. And with each day they remain missing, the weight on the lionesses grows heavier. Legacy does not wait. It does not pause. It demands sacrifice. Far away, on another stretch of land scarred by heat and history, a different pride faces a different challenge. This is the River Pride. Their domain winds along a stretch of water that still flows, barely, a lifeline that draws every creature toward it in the dry season. Their king, an aging male known only by the trackers as Tatu, walks with a slow, deliberate gait. His mane, once full and black, is graying at the edges, dusted with time. He has ruled for 5 years, a long reign in lion years. In his time, he sired over a dozen cubs, defended his territory from 4 coalitions, and held together one of the strongest prides in the region. But time is no longer on his side. Tatu is thinning. A recent fight left him limping. His scent, once potent and feared, no longer marks the wind with authority. And younger males, bolder, hungrier, are watching. One in particular, a massive rogue with golden eyes and battle-scarred flanks, has begun to push closer, roaring louder, marking trees, leaving messages in urine and claw marks across the northern ridge. The lionesses sense the change. They keep the cubs deeper within the thickets. Their hunting patterns shift, their movements once confident, now arc with caution. Tatu too knows what is coming, but there is no retreat, no resignation. Instead, on the 6th night after the rogue's last call, Tatu rises. His steps are stiff, his breath heavy, but he walks toward the edge of his territory, alone toward the place where all legacies are either defended or lost. He roars once, then again, and from the other side of the acacia grove a reply. The fight is brutal but short, a clash of weight, fang, and fury. The younger male is faster, stronger. Tatu's shoulder gives, and the rogue pounces with the precision of one who has waited too long to fail. At dawn, the River Pride has a new king. But at what cost? Tatu limps away, defeated, vanishing into the bush where old kings go to die alone. And back in the core of the territory, the new male does what lions have. Done for thousands of years, he seeks the cubs. The lionesses resist. They circle, They faint. They try to mislead him, but in the end, 2 cubs are lost. The lionesses mourn not with cries, but with silence. They do not eat that day. They sit beside the bodies. Their ears twitch at every breeze. And then, as the sun begins to dip behind the hills, they rise and move on, because the legacy must continue. A month passes. Moya's pride moves southward, covering ground they once avoided. One of the cubs has died, malnourished, too weak to keep up. Moya buried him beneath a tangle of thorn bush and stood vigil through the night alone, her eyes reflecting stars that seemed too far away to care. The 2 remaining cubs are growing, slowly. But they are agile now, curious, full of quiet fire. And just before dawn one morning, the dark-maned males return. Their arrival is sudden. Their roars shake the valley. They rub their bodies against the lionesses, nuzzle the cubs, reclaiming both territory and blood. The balance is restored, if only for now. But every lioness knows the truth. Legacy is not a guarantee. It is a fire that must be fed, with food, with strength, with vigilance, with life. They do not weep. They do not waver. They walk on, through dust, through drought, through the cost of love and the weight of lineage. Because in the lion's world, legacy is not written in stone. It is written in survival. The wind shifts. It whispers secrets across the plains, bending the grasses and stirring the scent of distant lions into the nostrils of strangers. Along the northern ridgelines, a coalition moves, not stealthy, not silent, but with a boldness that shakes the very marrow of the land they now covet. 3 males, broad-shouldered, scarred. Their coats glint under the relentless sun like worn leather, each mark a testament to battles survived, prides challenged, territories stolen and lost. These are not young wanderers seeking a place to grow. These are seasoned invaders, veterans of upheaval, and they have come for dominance. They are known only by their effect. Lion researchers have called them the blades, not for the high way they fight, but for the precision with which they dismantle pride structures. Wherever they go, bloodlines are severed, order is shattered, and new reigns are forged from ashes. The blades move south, toward the territories once held by Tatu, toward the pride led by the returning dark-maned brothers, toward cubs that have only just begun to feel safe again. But this land is not without its protectors. It is a kingdom carved in war, held in blood, and the lines are about to be redrawn. Far ahead of them, the pride is unaware. Moya lies beneath a knotted marula tree, her cubs curled at her side. One suckles, the other chews absently on a bleached bone. The male guardians patrol intermittently, their roars irregular but confident. They have no reason to suspect a threat so soon. But then it comes. The first sign is the silence of the birds, then the twitch of a lioness's ear, the way impalas, far across the plain, suddenly freeze, alert to a vibration in the earth no human can sense. By afternoon, the tension is thick. The males begin to pace more often. Scent marking increases. They roar longer, deeper. A message broadcast on the wild's frequency. This land is claimed, but the blades do not flinch. They do not reply. They enter unseen, navigating gullies and ravines, flanking rather than confronting. They bide their time, not out of fear, but out of tactical mastery. At dusk, the first direct encounter unfolds. One of the dark-maned brothers, the larger of the two, strays too far from his patrol route. He stops to drink at a muddy pool surrounded by reeds. That is when the ambush begins. It is not a charge. It is not a roar. It is a coordinated, precise approach from three sides. By the time he hears the rustle, they are already upon him. The fight is thunderous. A blur of claws, roars, flying dust. He tries to hold ground, but the numbers are against him. He retreats, blood trailing from his shoulder and ribs, his roars growing ragged as he flees into the brush. The blades do not chase far. One of them lifts his head and roars. A deep, guttural declaration. The land shakes. Back at the pride's core, panic brews. The lionesses regroup. Moya gathers her cubs and leads them into the rock crevice where she once hid from rogue males seasons ago. Her memory is long, her instincts sharper than ever. The second male returns just before sunrise, limping. The pride is fractured. The power vacuum, reopened, and the blades begin to move in. Over the next 4 days, skirmishes erupt at the borders. Not all are witnessed. Some are inferred by tracks, blood smears, and the silence of familiar calls that never come again. The invaders are relentless, operating not with brute force alone, but with the choreography of a seasoned pack. One of the dark-maned brothers disappears entirely. His scent vanishes. Whether dead or driven into exile, no one can say. The remaining male does what desperate kings often do. He runs. For the pride, this is the moment of unraveling. The blades waste no time. On the 5th day, they move into the heart of the pride's territory. Their roars echo across hills and valleys, a chorus of new rule. The lionesses form a tight circle around the cubs. Moya leads them toward the eastern cliffs, a final refuge. But one cub cannot keep up. He stumbles, falls. His breathing is labored, heat exhaustion, dehydration, fear. Moya stops, torn between 2 impossible choices. She nudges him, licks his face. He tries to rise but fails. The blades are not far. The lionesses wait, muscles twitching with adrenaline. And then Moya does what only the fiercest mothers can do. She stands guard over her fallen cub while the others move on. Alone, she will face the impossible, if only to give him one more hour of life. The blades approach. Their eyes lock onto her. Her body tenses. She does not growl. She does not flee. She makes herself large, dominant, unwavering. In that moment, the savannah holds its breath. But the blades, surprisingly, do not attack. They hesitate. Perhaps it is the stance, the defiance, the scent of milk still on her coat. Perhaps it is some ancient memory that stirs in their blood, of their own mother standing tall in the face of fear. One of them snorts and turns. Another lingers. Then, with a low growl, he follows his brothers. They let her be. By nightfall, she carries the cub back to the cliffs, but the rain has changed. The blades take the pride. The lionesses have no choice but to submit. Nature allows no room for resistance in the face of absolute power. And over the next few days, the process begins again. The cycle of purging, mating, reclaiming. 2 cubs are lost. Moya's survives, but only barely. The landscape absorbs this violence as it always has, with indifference. Vultures circle, jackals lurk, and the grasses wave in golden rhythm. Life continues. But everything is different. The lionesses adapt. They hunt again. They nurse their wounds. They re-enter the rhythm of the new regime, and the blades begin their legacy. For Moya, the cost has been unbearable. But still, she walks. Still, she feeds. Still, she protects. Because the crisis is not just about bloodline or territory. It is about endurance. It is about resilience. It is about carrying the flame through the storm and ensuring that, in a world governed by the brutal elegance of nature, something survives long enough to remember what came before. As night falls, a lone roar echoes through the valley, not of conquest, but of defiance. The savannah has changed. Its silence now echoes with recent violence, its winds heavy with the scent of new rule. The pride lies scattered across the rocks, limbs stretched under the scorching sun. Around them, the grasslands flicker with uneasy calm, a deceptive stillness like the eye of a lingering storm. The blades have claimed dominance. The lionesses, once bonded by shared struggle, now walk with lowered heads, their movements calculated, their instincts guarded. Moya, who once led the pride's future in her stride, moves like a shadow through the dusk, her cub close behind her. He is thin but alive. That is all she needs, for now. In the weeks that follow, the blades enforce their lineage. They court and copulate, not with affection but with urgency, driven by the deep biological truth that their time may be short. The male lion, even in power, lives under the shadow of overthrow. They do not rest easy. Not now. Not ever. The lionesses hunt, bearing the weight of the future on sore paws and empty bellies. Prey is elusive, driven farther by territorial disputes and erratic weather. A late-season drought grips the land, shrinking waterholes into cracked earth and concentrating survival into cruel pockets of hope. Wildebeest herds have moved east. Zebra trails are faint. The lions must adapt or perish. On the third week, the pride sets its sights on a bull buffalo, a high-stakes hunt. The lionesses fan out at dawn, positioning themselves in the long reeds flanking a drying mud basin. The buffalo enters the trap unaware, his hide caked in mud, flanks glistening with sweat. The ambush begins. It is not a clean kill. The buffalo fights. His horns carve into the thigh of a lioness, tossing her into the air. Blood flies, roars erupt, dust swirls into chaos. But together they bring him down. It takes more than 20 minutes for his life to fade. The kill is costly, but it buys time. The pride feasts. The injured lioness limps away from the carcass, licking her wound beneath a fig tree. The blades eat first, their faces buried in flesh, their roars keeping scavengers at bay. The cubs eat last. Moya watches her son tear at the soft belly of the buffalo, his muzzle stained red. It is the first time she has seen him eat with such hunger since the invasion. A spark returns to his eyes, a promise, but nothing is safe for long. A distant roar signals what the blades feared but refused to admit: the return of the exiled. From the north, he comes. The dark-maned brother, the one who vanished, not dead, not broken, transformed. His mane is tangled. A wound scars his flank, but his eyes burn with fury, and his roar is a thunderclap that shakes birds from their perches and echoes across dry riverbeds like the voice of a forgotten king. He does not come alone. With him walks a rogue, young, lean, wide-eyed with ambition, a lion who has tasted solitude and survived. Together they stalk the borderlands, circling the periphery of the blade's rule. The balance shifts again. The lionesses sense the change. They watch the horizon with renewed interest. The blades patrol, more often. Paranoia creeps into their dominance. One wrong move, one misstep, and the empire they built from blood could collapse. The days grow hotter. The rains delay. Water becomes sacred. At a dwindling pan shaded by acacias, the inevitable begins. The rogue coalition, now too strong, meets the blades. No ambush, no strategy, just fury. It is brutal. Screams cut through the air like blades. Claws tear into flesh. Dust envelops the fighters until they are little more than heaving silhouettes in a storm of blood and rage. One of the blades falls, his throat punctured. his legs twitching in the final spasms of death. Another limps away, tail torn, and one, eye swollen shut. The rogue is injured, but he stands. The dark-maned lion, resurrected by exile, hardened by survival, lets out a roar that is less a warning than a resurrection. He has come home, and he wants it back, but victory in the wild is not immediate. It is earned over weeks through presence, pressure, and persistence. The blades retreat, regroup, but their confidence is broken. The pride senses this. So does the ecosystem. Jackals creep closer. Hyenas begin to call near the border again. And the lionesses? They wait for the pendulum to swing. Moya remains focused on survival. Her son grows stronger. He has begun to roar, softly, unsure. But the sound is there, a whisper of what may one day become a bellow. And then, on a twilight evening of orange fire and distant thunder, the final reckoning comes. All 5 lions meet at the riverbed, the remaining blades, the returning king, and the ambitious rogue. There is no audience, no crowd. Just the chorus of insects and the far-off bark of baboons watching from the cliffs. The battle is silent at first. A standoff. Then motion. Then chaos. The fight stretches for an hour. Across sand, through water, into bush. One of the blades flees early. The other stays too long. He is killed. The land falls quiet again. In the days that follow, the new coalition reclaims the territory. The rogue now walks as an equal, not a subordinate. The dark-maned lion, wounded but proud, takes his place beside the lionesses once again, not as a returning ruler but as a survivor who has learned that power is nothing without purpose. The pride rebuilds. New cubs are born in the seasons to come. Moya's son reaches his adolescence, his mane just beginning to form. He has survived the purge, the drought, the hunger, and now he walks the plains with the energy of youth and the eyes of the past. Blood has soaked the soil. Dust has swallowed many names. But life goes on, always. The Lion Kingdom, though fractured and rebuilt 100 times, persists through crisis, through conflict, through the roar of kings and the silence of their fall. Because the story of lions is not just one of dominance. It is one of memory, of bloodlines etched into the very bones of the land. And though the rulers may change, and the battles rage eternal, the spirit of the pride survives in the whisper of grasses, the glint of golden eyes at dusk, and the soft thud of paw prints that never truly fade. The crisis is over, for now. But in the heart of Africa, the next roar is always waiting.